special.
Well, you should consider it.
Well, you should consider leaving.
It's all there.
Yes, I know. I told you that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, well, you know the way out.
Yeah.
Au revoir.
All right, haves and have not fans. Hope everybody's doing well. Yeah, this is our first Tuesday without the show, and I know that's a bit of a burden to deal with, but we'll make it through it somehow. So in this particular video, I wanted to talk about an interesting subject. I remember last week I did a video about Veronica deserved better, and that video really focused on the idea that for the Ice Queen, the fan favorite, her death left a lot to be desired, from just randomly being gunned down and a death scene that was like 5 seconds long. If you subtract the time of her coming out of her house, walking to her car, I mean, when Akil and Marco jumped out and shot her down and ran off into the night, that was like 4 or 5 seconds. And it's like, this is Veronica, and she went out like that. And no, this video isn't about the whole sending out Laura instead of her, or if it was Veronica. We don't need to have that argument. I'm done with that. It was Veronica. But I wanted to talk about a subject some people have been bringing up, in regards to Veronica. Why was she leaving in the middle of the night? And it goes back to what I've said plenty of times in this show over the years, in that you can tell when a character is about to be killed off or written out of the series when they do something that's extremely out of character. Usually like the calm, cool, collected character who's calculating does something hot-headed or is based on emotion, which is generally not how they act. I mean, yes, Veronica is emotional, but for the most part, she plans things through before she gets revenge. But for her to just kind of randomly go out in the middle of the night, despite the fact that her hired hitman told her, you have a lot of enemies, I've heard some things in the underground, and you ought to be careful. For Veronica to just casually go outside made no sense. Was she in the thought process of, my immediate threats are out of the way, so I better, plan my next move, or something along those lines? Or, was it just, hey, it's the final episode, we need to kill her off, so she just went outside and got shot? But I feel like, her death should have been more spectacular than that, considering everything she's done up in the series at that point. But seriously, go back to the scene where Marco was counting his money and warning her about other enemies and praying to Mother Mary. It really looked like Veronica, based on her body language and things like that. It definitely looked like she was shaken by what was being said to her. So then for the next scene, which was her simply walking out of her house and getting gunned down, there really was no connection there. It's like I feel like, there's a lot of possibly deleted scenes or rewrites, because I've said it time and time again over the years that, well, not the years, I'm sorry, the months, was season 7 was supposed to be the final season. OWN ordered more episodes. Tyler Perry had to write an entirely new an extra season, if you will, as well as reshoot. So a lot of things were changed. So it just felt like what made this episode not that great was the fact that it didn't feel like everything was kind of, tied together. Like, we already knew not everything would be resolved, but to have all these deaths back to back to back, really without any kind of emotion behind it, well, most of the deaths anyway, it kind of lost its value. Like, Jeffrey, Madison, David, or possibly even Leo in a quadruple bombing. Okay, what did David have to do? That I just felt like it was sloppy. But when it came to Veronica, I really wanted to see, even if it was just even if we only spent maybe a couple of minutes prior to her walking outside, Veronica just kind of, sitting on the couch drinking, or, we kind of have a Candace moment where maybe she's being haunted by the people she's killed, like Maggie Day, Erica, things like that. That way it could have added more weight to her paranoia, because we know Veronica has had a paranoia thing ever since season 1. Maybe not to the extent of, let's say, a season 3 or 4 Veronica, but she's high strung. So it really would have made sense for her to be haunted in her own mind. I mean, what about that wet dream she had of David and then said, you know, I love Hannah? And it's like, wait, what? That didn't even go anywhere. So I really feel like if Veronica had a Candace moment where she kind of, you know, was sitting back on the couch and, you know, she just was losing it. Like, let's say Laura was still there. You know, let's say Veronica, after Marco left, she was on the couch, you know, red bottoms on the floor, her feet up on the couch, a couple of glasses empty from the drinking, and then she was woken up by the nightmare, and then Laura's like, Mrs. Harrington, are you okay? And then Veronica kind of lashes out at her. In a fit of paranoia, she just decides, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to take them all out. Like, we see her on a path of vengeance, like, yeah, Veronica's about to do something. And then in her moment of having a lack of clarity, she's pretty much blinded by her own rage and fear. She goes outside before remembering the warning that Marco gave her and then gets gunned down. I feel like that would have added more to it. It would have added more weight to her demise. Kind of like, you know, Candace was pretty much, there's this one, is it a Greek tragedy or was it in like one of those Edgar Allan Poe or dark, you know, tales in English class we had to read, where basically you can't run away from your fate. It was like, I can't remember the exact story. I really should just pause the recording and look it up. But essentially it was like this one soldier, or it was a king or somebody, and they were told that, you know, death is going to get them soon. And like, they decided to flee the kingdom to go to this other city. And then when the other person, the butler or whoever else, went into the garden, death was right there. And it's like, oh my goodness, are you here to take me? No, I'm here to take this prince or whatever. Well, he's not here. I know, he's going to die in such and such a, basically the place he was fleeing to was actually the place of his own demise. So it's like, you know, that paranoia kicks in. I'm sorry, I really should have looked up the title of it, but I can't think of it right now. It's weird. That's like 8th grade English and I still remember that. But basically, I feel like, you know, Veronica's death really could have had more weight to it. So, you know, her just being gunned down like that was dumb, because we really didn't get any context between when Marco had left and she looked spooked to when she walked outside. So I feel like if we had more time to spend with Veronica, and that's something else I had a problem with, this was the final episode and Veronica felt like an afterthought. Seriously. I mean, she was just there to deliver the money to Marco, get his final warning, and then get killed off. This is freaking Veronica. Come on now. All right, so what do you think? Do you think Veronica was leaving in the middle? Why do you think Veronica was leaving in the middle of the night? Was she fleeing? What she think of her next move? I mean, going back to, you know, Hannah allegedly signing off the papers to take everything from her, you know, it would have been interesting to see Veronica down and out and, you know, on the run from these enemies. You know, the fact that she no longer has the money, resources that she once did. She's literally fleeing for her life, but, you know, she's actually having to struggle, which I feel would have made for a great story, considering you're looking at, like, you know, a Batman-like figure with like all these resources, but once they're stripped away, you're just left with a man. In this case, we're left with a woman who might have to pawn her red bottoms just to have enough money to stay in a crappy motel. So what do you think? Do you think Veronica was fleeing, you know, due to Marco's words? Do you agree with me that we needed like at least a couple of minutes, just a extra scene to really know what Veronica was doing? And that's pretty much all I got. So thanks so much for tuning in, fans. I do appreciate the love on the videos. And with that being said, I will catch you in the next one.